Welcome to the Baklava broadcast, brought to you by Semih, riding the pine since '99.
Welcome, everyone, to the second Baklava broadcast brought to you by Semih. We are recording this on a Friday night. I am here, J-Rod, Johnny Basketball, joined by my fellow staff writers, Rahul Matal and
what's up,
Kurt, who is joining us in Houston.
How's it going?
What's up, Kurt? How's it going, dude?
Just in the middle of a nice little tropical storm right now, hoping that the power doesn't go out.
Oh, that's solid. Is that a normal Friday night for you?
Yeah, just trying to be one with nature. What about you guys?
Good, man. We just, hanging out, pounding some nuggies, the usual type stuff. How are the nuggies down in Houston?
You know what? I'm
a
little ashamed to say that I have not been to McDonald's since I've been here.
Wow.
Oh,
have you had any baklava at least? When was the last time you had baklava?
Of course, that and
a
nice Subway hot pastrami melt, which is
fantastic. Pastrami.
Yeah. That commercial is on for like weeks straight, and I just finally succumbed and was like, I gotta get one while they still have them. So.
That boy, see, it works. They pound it.
It was well worth it.
Yeah.
Well worth it. I stayed up late last night to watch the Ohio State-Alabama game, which was quite exciting. One of the best games I've seen in a long time. Did you guys stay up and watch it?
Oh, of course. It was unbelievable, man. It just went right down to the end. There was literally not a point where you could stop and relax in that game, no matter what team you're rooting for.
Yeah,
what do you guys think about after you? Go ahead.
Yeah, just coming in, I just thought we had very little chance of pulling it off. With Alabama defense, I thought they were just going to come after Cardell Jones and everything. And Cardell didn't really win us the game. He didn't really have to. It was all Zeke. He just ran all over him, which was really great to see. It was a real surprise. And
the funny part about
with Oregon and everything, but yeah.
The funny part about Ezekiel is, I swear, the better he runs, the higher he pulls up his shirt. So you can tell how good a game he's having by how high his jersey is. So I'm pretty sure he wasn't even wearing a shirt yesterday. So yeah, he broke the record, right? What do you have, 200 and some yards?
230 yards, yeah.
Yeah. On 20 carries.
Yeah. It can't be stated enough that for a quarterback with little experience, knowing that you can rely on that guy to run and just, if the pocket breaks down, to run for the first down or just take shots deep, it just makes the game plan so much easier for him and takes so much pressure off him that was huge. And hopefully he can do that again.
Yeah, great weapon to have. I'm going to be down at Ohio State. That's where I'm mostly in Columbus. So I'm going to be down at Ohio State for that game, that national championship game. So I'm definitely going to have to get back to you guys on that. It's going to be
that'll be crazy.
Yeah.
The game's in Arlington, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm just talking about campus though, because I'm.
No, I know.
It's going to be. Okay, yeah.
I don't know how close that is to where I am, but maybe I could.
You should try to make it out there.
Drive over, find some OSU bar, and that'd be sweet. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah. Good stuff. So, what do you think? Should we get into the basketball?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
All right. What's the first topic you guys want to talk about?
All right. Let's dive into the Cavaliers. I guess me and Rahul just actually watched the end of the Cavaliers tonight against the Hornets game where Kevin Love and Sean Marion returned for the Cavs, and then the Hornets were without Al Jefferson or Lance Stevenson. So, Rahul or Kurt, did you watch any game? What do you think of how we looked tonight?
I didn't actually get a chance to watch, unfortunately, because it's, not a headline game, I guess. But I think what's really important about this game is that without LeBron, it's time to see who's going to step up and that's someone that can be relied upon in the playoffs. I know, we're just playing the measly Charlotte Hornets without two of their top players, but it's good to see K-Love at 27 points on 9 of 15, which is awesome. Still hasn't found the rebound, only had 5. Kyrie had 23 on some ugly shooting, 8 of 27. And Dion, kind of looked like the Cavs from last year with Kyrie and Dion combining for 48 shots and only 16 makes, but got the job done, so.
Yeah, that's
important.
That's exactly what I was thinking. It looked like the Cavs from last year without LeBron. Dion and Kyrie, you said, combined for 16 of 48. And obviously that's no good, but it's nice to see that they can do that, shoot such a low percentage with LeBron out, and still get the win. And I think, the key for these next few weeks is going to be Kevin Love. That's the only way, because, I think we've all seen his body language hasn't been the best. And with LeBron out, I think it's time for him to get going and start making a difference and start kind of being that player that he was last year. So I'm kind of excited to see what happens these next 2 weeks. We'll see. I think it hopefully isn't as bad as it might seem. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I'm a little concerned myself. Me and Rahul were just talking a little bit and just looking at the bench players we have now. Though a lot of those guys are going to be playing increased minutes, obviously, and everything. And actually, I was looking at some stats on NBA.com in terms of PER in the league. In the bottom 15 in the league, we own 3 of those guys. Joe Harris, Mike Miller, and Matthew Dellavedova all have very low PERs.
Wow.
So yeah, that was surprising to see that.
Yeah, Dellavedova is a surprise. I wouldn't expect him to have a really, really low PER, but
yeah, that's just one stat, and actually PER itself, like for big man, it's inflated for them because of like the high shooting percentage and the rebound stuff. But
right.
Still, that's a concern. Seeing those guys that are supposed to be our knockdown shooters and key bench guys being at the bottom of the league in terms of efficiency and everything. But I guess just going off the Cavaliers in this last week since we last spoke at our podcast after recapping the Christmas Day game against the Heat. The Cavs were 1-3 since then, beating the Magic, I think the day after beating the Heat, and then dropping games, some pretty embarrassing ones to the Pistons, as well as the Hawks and the Bucks. So I guess just going off that last week, and then just I guess propelling forward into this week and looking at the schedule. I guess we can preview the next 3 or 4 games and give our take as to how we think those are going to play out. We got the Mavs coming up, and then we're at Philly. We also have Houston, and then we're at Golden State the next 4. So if you guys want to just take a look at those games and give your take on how you think we'll fare.
Well, as far as like the games we lost, yeah, that was a pretty rough stretch, and I think that Milwaukee game for me, I think that was the most painful because like Milwaukee had just as many guys out as we did, right? They had Jabari was out, Larry Sanders was out, Ilya Silva was out, so like, and we were at home too So there is no reason for us to lose that game, even if LeBron and Love were out. So, yeah, that was rough. I don't know. Looking forward, yeah, we do have a tough schedule. The Mavs at home, I think, is our game on Sunday. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think Rondo had 15 points in the first quarter today. He's playing real well, and they're clicking, I think, a little bit faster than I thought. So I don't really see the Cavs winning that game, to be honest. But luckily they have the Sixers to follow it up. Kurt, what do you think about the Rockets? I'll leave that to you.
The Rockets they're interesting, but I don't think we have a chance against the Rockets either. I know it's at home, but like who on our team is going to guard Dwight Howard? Unless he's still out. I don't know if he's going to be back. I think he's back, isn't he?
That's a good question. I don't know, to be honest.
He's been day to day, I think. So needless to say, if he's back, would we have Brendan Haywood going to guard him? I don't think that's going to go very well.
I mean, but no one's going to guard him. He's going to have 35 points if he plays.
Yeah, and I don't think we can even guard whoever they have at center. We can't guard, and nobody can guard James Harden in the league. So I think we're going to I think it's going to be they're going to score a lot of points because they usually do, and we're just not going to be able to keep up. I think it's just going to be a race that maybe by the end of three quarters it'll be close, but by the fourth quarter I think we're just going to succumb and kind of just get blown out. And then at the Warriors, I mean, that's never what you want to schedule.
Not at all.
They're playing so well, and it's just that team is incredible. Is that a nationally televised game, I hope?
Are you asking because you're in Houston and you want to watch?
Yeah, I mean, I know ESPN won't show it because they like to show teams that aren't relevant, but maybe TNT would pick it up because they usually have pretty good games.
Yeah. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Not sure? Okay.
Yeah, well, not sure, but
I would say out of the next four games, I think we're going to go 1-3, and we're going to beat Philly, and it's not going to be pretty, but we're going to beat them just because they don't want to win, and we need to win. So, which is fine. We'll take that. Oh,
yeah.
The Houston game is on ESPN. Houston at Cleveland is on ESPN.
Yeah, and then the Warriors game is at Friday night. So I think ESPN carries a lot of those games too. So might be two national TV games.
That's good. Hopefully the team can get pumped up for that and not. Oh, good. Yeah, it is on ESPN. You're right. Okay. Hopefully, they don't let themselves get embarrassed at Golden State on Friday night.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
who knows?
Same thing. I think we're going with probably 1-3. Yeah, and then there's news also of LeBron, being out at least 2 weeks, just kind of nursing his injuries and trying to get better. So, even looking even more forward, I guess, following those 4 games, we're on like a Western 5-game road trip after that. So, yeah, these next 2 weeks will definitely be a test, test where our team's at and, how the other supporting cast guys are going to step up. Because, if we go, 3-7 in that stretch or something, fall like kind of near 500, then, people are going to be calling out for Blatt's departure and everything. And, it'll be interesting for these next 2 weeks to see what kind of Cavaliers team shows up each game.
How do you guys feel about that whole David Blatt stuff and people calling for him to? Well, he's under fire already, and some people are calling for him to be fired. What do you guys think of that?
I think.
Oh, go ahead, Kurt.
Okay. I think it's too early to. I mean, I know it's 30 some games into the season, but I mean, at least give the guy a full year to see what happens. Like, regular season, as we Cavs fans know, isn't terribly important. We've been the 1 seed with LeBron and then fizzle out in the conference semis. Like, that, if the end goal is a championship, then your regular season, you want to at least be like a top 4 seed to have, one playoff series at home. Ideally, if you're 1 or 2, that's, what you can hope for. But, they're going to make the playoffs, which is important. And then we'll have to see, how he figures his rotations, who gets the minutes. That's what this time is for now, which is, again, I think it's great that LeBron's going to be out for a while. So hopefully we can figure out who can be relied upon, who's going to show up every night and compete. Maybe it won't be the best players. Maybe Dellavedova earns more minutes than Dion because Dion isn't interested in being the 4th or 5th wheel. But he still has a lot to figure out. And, we have some good assistant coaches. I'm sure they'll figure it out. And I'm sure LeBron will be talking with them a lot. And I think everything will be okay. It's, Rome wasn't built in a day, so not too worried.
What about you, J-Rod? What do you think, man?
Yeah, I think I agree with Kurt that it was, it's early to, jump to that conclusion, and that he's not connecting with the players, and, he's on his way out soon and everything. But I think just the timing of the hiring of him was off too. You hire him before we get LeBron and everything, and I think that was a mistake, just not getting LeBron's, because he has an input in, a lot of the stuff that we do, and what goes on offensively, defensively, everything. So I think the timing with that was a little off. I think it seems that like around the league, it seems that the players are listening and respecting more the highest paid assistant, which is Tyronn Lue, and I think that's like a feed of like tension for the media to feed off. Lue's got to replace Black and everything. But, yeah, I think it's still early to rule out Blatt. I mean, it's tough for him, too, because, he has no prior really NBA experience,
Yeah.
There are stories of him earlier in the season, like, he doesn't know where the freaking, like, locker rooms are in the away arenas. like, things like that, yeah, you got to give the guy. I mean, he's put under tremendous, pressure with this job and everything. I'm sure he's fully aware of that and everything. But yeah, I mean, it's only 30 games in, and yeah, I mean, we'll see how it plays out. But I don't think it's right to overreact to this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's what the media does. They kind of overreact. That's the tendency of the media. And there's all this talk about Tyronn Lue, being the guy they connect with. Well, Tyronn Lue's main job as the assistant for the Cavs was to kind of lead the defense, to run the defense. And if you look at the Cavs defense, it kind of sucks. So much for Tyronn Lue, right? And I get that David Blatt has no NBA experience like Tyronn Lue, but you knew that when you hired David Blatt. What'd you expect? Right? So,
yeah.
I don't know. But what you guys said is basically how I feel as well, so I'm not going to get too upset about it. So.
Yeah. Well, and let's not forget the other important thing here is that this last season there was an assistant coach named Brian Scalabrine that was favorite over Mark Jackson. And that situation, we saw how that turned out. So.
Did you hear Brian Scalabrine actually tried to apply to be a writer for Semih Pro? But we had to turn him down. I
saw his resume.
Yeah. He just couldn't cut it, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like he didn't really have much basketball experience like we do, so it's kind of no-brainer.
He'll get there.
Yeah.
We told him to, he said he's going to resubmit his resume in 5 years, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, he's got a long way to go, but
yeah,
he's a hard worker, so We'll see.
Oh, he's a good friend. That's for sure. Just like LeBron and D Wade are great friends.
Good.
You guys see this video of so apparently what did LeBron say? I don't remember. Something about next year or whatever. Anybody know?
It's like if things don't get better this year, we can like rejoin and recreate our dynasty is I think basically the gist of it.
Yeah, become like bigger and better and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, bigger, better. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like I thought LeBron's like press conference the day after pretty much summed it up. Even if that's how he felt, like no one's dumb enough to say that in front of 100 cameras on Christmas.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, if anybody's worried, just go back and like read LeBron's letter. Whether he meant it or not, there's no way he can. There's just no way he can leave after what he said. Like, there's no way explaining yourself after that.
Yeah.
So
He would be like a national villain for like I don't think anybody would like him. We already know that Miami fans don't really care about basketball.
Yeah.
So he would be a pretty lonely guy.
Yeah. Well, he's got Dwayne. Don't forget, he's got Dwayne.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh man.
All right, so just moving on and just kind of feeding off, I guess, a little of the Cavs problems we discussed. I guess just proposing kind of a New Year's resolution almost for the Cavs and maybe some suggestions of, what the Cavs can do in the new year. Maybe some, potential trades. I know we discussed that a little with the Verjao injury in the last podcast, but is there anyone else? I guess Kurt can chime in this as well. Who do we need to bolster our roster?
Well, I think our first resolution should be to try to get as healthy as we can. I mean, this is an important part. Obviously, every game is important. Not as important as football and much more important than baseball. But, I mean, looking at our schedule for the next month and even past that, it doesn't look especially promising with how we've been playing. So we either need to we need to get some sort of wing player, and I know Corey Brewer's not available anymore. And well, I'm glad we didn't pick Josh Smith, but we'll get into that later. I'm really not. I don't know if there's one trade that we can make that's like a viable trade that's really gonna, turn this team around. But I think something important is deciding what we're gonna do with Dion once and for all. I'm fine either way, but all of the rumors floating around, I think it's really hurt him. He just seems disinterested some games, and I can't imagine what that's like. Going from being the second option on a team to, in 1 year, being shopped around. Whether or not it's actually happening, we'll never know. But until something happens, but just hearing things like that, that's got to be just absolutely shattering his confidence. So I think that's something I'd like to see is just somebody come out and say we're not trading him, or somebody's or we just trade him and just get it over with so we can move on. And if there's any chemistry issues, those will be taken care of. I don't know. I'd like to see that issue resolved.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with what you say. As far as the whole get healthy thing, so I think a big part of that, so LeBron's out 2 weeks, right? And I think most of the reason is we played him for like 40 minutes a game this whole season. It's crazy. So
yeah.
I don't care if it costs us a few games going forward here, but when LeBron comes back, we have to limit his minutes. The Spurs, they basically, they throw some games by sitting Duncan and Ginobili and Parker, but they know it's worth it. It doesn't matter if the Cavs have 45 wins or 48 wins as much as is LeBron healthy come playoff time. So the first thing I would do is sit LeBron a lot more, limit his minutes. And then I guess the only other goal I would say for the Cavs is start feeding Kevin Love a little bit more, because I feel like we keep saying it and it happens for like a game and then it just like stops and he has like 4 like bad games in a row. Mm-hmm. So we need to make an effort to feed Kevin Love, and I think the rest will take care of itself. But that's my take. And then I talked about trades already. I was on the side of trading Dion. Maybe I don't feel as strongly as I did before that we have to trade him, but I still think that we should trade him. I just think we're so weak in the front court, and we need to make a trade for someone. But yeah, I don't know. I think we just got to let the season play out for the most part.
Yeah, I guess just going off that, like trade-wise, I mean, just like a lot of the names being floated out are just like kind of like, like the washed-up old guys, or like Kenyon Martin, or like Jermaine O'Neal, like guys trying to just get back in the NBA, maybe like win a title and then bail. And you have like Bob Sacre from the Lakers,
dude,
floated around and stuff. Like, yeah, I mean, they might be available and everything, but like, are they really like that much of an upgrade? And like, how much are they really gonna help?
Dude, Bob Sacre is a great cheerleader on the bench, just to be fair.
Yeah, he'll go along with Mike Miller pretty well.
Yeah.
Well, if we're looking for a cheerleader, we should have picked up Juwan Howard.
Oh,
that
dude,
guy
like
just tracks rings, and he doesn't like. I never know if he's a coach or a player.
I'm pretty sure
player coach.
I think he just coaches. He just coaches for like 3/4 of the season, and then when he sees his team's about to win a championship, he just jumps on the team, earns that ring as a player, and then bails.
Gotcha. Well, that's smart. And then they get to kick players like Dexter Pittman, who have no business ever being drafted.
Dexter Pittman.
And some poor guys just don't get a ring, but I think they'll be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of like end of the bench players, I guess some deadlines to note. Coming up, January 7th is actually the deadline to actually like waive players, and so January 10th is when the contracts actually become like guaranteed. So we actually have 3 guys right now that are on non-guaranteed contracts: Alex Kirk, AJ Price, and Lua Munson. Yeah. So it seems that we're probably likely to waive one of those guys. I would probably lean towards Kirk. I think he's only played in 2 games the whole year. So that might like free up a roster spot for like, I don't know, another signing. And then also with that Verjao injury, we actually were granted a disabled player exemption, which actually gives us like $4.8 million more that we can like use in a trade. So those are a few other things, I guess, a few other like roster adjustments going forward potentially and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think it's pretty certain. I don't know exactly what the move's going to be, but this roster is going to look a little bit different in about a month. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Well, speaking of adding depth, we never really got a chance to talk about the big acquisition made by the Houston Rockets.
Jay Smooth.
Joshua Smith. Any thoughts on that move?
I think it's really lucky for Josh Smith how it worked out, because let's just think about this. He's he had like a really crappy season up to this point. He gets cut by one of the crappiest teams. So he gets paid a little bit more to play with his best friend in Houston, who's killing it right now. That must be nice. My life is not that good, I promise. Oh man, J-Rob or Kurt, what's your guys' take on this? Because I don't know. I distance myself from any Josh Smith talk.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think in the first few games that he's played with Houston, he kind of looks uncomfortable offensively. Obviously, people are going to be on him for those long twos he's chucking up and everything, and he's playing with a lot more competent veterans and everything. And then on the flip side, the Pistons are playing obviously much better without him. They've reeled off a few wins. I think it seems that Houston, they kind of got a little bargain with him money-wise. I mean, they're only paying him $2 million for this year. I mean, I think the Pistons eat the rest of the contract actually.
Wow.
And I think for the most part he'll play in a limited role. I mean, Terrence Jones, once he returns, I think Josh Smith will play in a reduced role, and then they also have to bring in their other new players in Corey Brewer and Alexei Shved. But yeah, I mean, I guess he helps a little bit, but I mean, I think chemistry-wise is going to be key to see how he fits in their rotation and everything.
Yeah, I think Daryl Morey is a pretty smart guy, and I think what his plan is he saw that once Josh left the Hawks, they've obviously been doing pretty well without him. The Pistons are now doing well without him. I think he's just gonna bring him on for a little bit and then just cut him and just expect the team to magically get 5 or 10 wins better, just from having him and releasing the cancer. But just in his 5 games with Houston so far, I thought this was interesting. His plus minus. So the first game at Memphis, he was plus 15. The second game at San Antonio, minus 11. Third game at home versus Washington, he was plus 1. Next game at home against Charlotte, plus 15. And then the last game, which was today, at New Orleans, minus 10. Which is pretty interesting that there's that big of a swing. He's either killing their team or helping a lot. But he's continued his poor shooting throughout the season. He's just, I don't know he has terrible shot selection, so I guess that's part of it. But I agree with Johnny that once Terrence Jones comes back and Brewer's implemented, that he's going to be riding the pine until he's 99.
Riding the pine, 99.
But yeah, it's an interesting signing, but it's as long as there's no chemistry issues, which considering the friendship there, I don't think it'll be a big deal. I don't know how he'll react to not playing a whole lot, because that certainly hasn't been an issue in his career.
Yeah.
But I think.
Well, considering where he's coming from, I'm sure anything for him is better than being in Detroit. So I'm sure he's not going to complain right away.
That's true. But he doesn't get to chuck up as many bricks now, so he
That's
might miss
true
that.
too. Yeah. Very true. So if we're going to talk about, I guess, the NBA outside of the Cavs, looking back this season so far, what are the biggest surprises you guys can think of, I guess, from each conference, either positive or negative? We can do biggest surprises, biggest letdowns. What comes to mind for you guys? Apparently nothing.
No, I'm just thinking about it. Well, for me,
yeah,
I would say that the biggest surprise for a player has to be Jimmy Butler. He's had a chance to step in and shine with the whole Derrick Rose can't stay healthy and Chicago just having all kinds of injury trouble. To me, I think he looks like the best two-way guard in the league. and it's a shame that he probably won't make the All-Star game because of just the way that it's run. But he's been tearing it up. He's averaging close to, I think, 22 points per game on pretty efficient shooting, and he can play pretty locked on defense for a wing guy, and he just embodies Tom Thibodeau's scheme so well. It's a tough, grinded-out player that, will do whatever it takes to win, and it just, he fits so perfectly in that system. And as far as a team in the East, I think, the East has been certainly interesting, and as far as positive surprises, it's hard because there aren't a whole lot of teams doing well. But for me, the easiest and most obvious one would be just the Bucks. The fact that they're in the playoffs right now and not as the 8th seed, the 6th seed, I believe, right now, is just incredible considering their season last year. I know they had some injury problems last year, but, Brandon Knight's emerged to be one of the more average point guards. And he certainly was not average before. We can point to a few Kyrie highlights if we'd like to. He got embarrassed.
He probably will.
Yeah, he had some interesting moments. But they're looking like they're a pretty scrappy bunch. They just beat the Cavs, so can't really knock them. And quite injury trouble too. So those are my biggest positive surprises. So Johnny, what about you? What are your biggest surprises so far?
Yeah, I guess going on the East, as far as a team goes, I think the Atlanta Hawks have been a real surprise. People have dubbed them kind of the Spurs of the East almost in the way they play. And they move the ball very well, and they're 23-8 right now. Currently, I think the 2 seed in the East, and they've beaten some quality opponents as well. They've beaten the Rockets, they've beaten the Clips, they've beaten the Mavs. They've beaten up on the Cavs twice. So I think, looking back at last year, they were below 500. Obviously still made the playoffs because they're in the East, but that Al Horford, he was injured, the last few seasons. So, getting him back, they really have a good, front court rotation. And then the play of Jeff Teague has also been a good surprise as well. So, yeah, that team, I think, me and Rahul discussed last podcast about, where they'll actually fall, come at the end of the season. But, they've definitely been a surprise. You wouldn't have thought, going in the preseason, this is another middle of the pack team. They haven't really made any moves to, prove us otherwise. But early on they've looked really, really good. And then as far as like a player, I had Tobias Harris down, but probably not too many people know who the hell he even plays for. He's not he's not a high profile guy, but he's actually for the Magic, who actually are only 2 games out of the 8th seed. He's put up, career highs, and he's shooting 48%, and he's averaging close to 19 points a game. He's just a really solid player, and I guess, he's not too big of a surprise to some people because he might not know about him, but it's the reason that the Magic are semi-competitive so far, I think. So that was one name, I guess, that floated around. It's tough for surprises in the East as far as positive impact.
That is certainly true.
Slim picking. Well, I'm going to slide over to the West because I think you guys covered a lot of Eastern Conference stuff. So if you don't mind me getting to the West, I think the biggest surprise to me is Golden State. I think we all thought that Golden State was going to be good, that they were probably going to be a top 4 playoff team, but I did not expect them to be sitting at 25-5 right now, especially with a first-year head coach. For them to do that, it's pretty remarkable. And I think probably speaks to the growth of their players, and that sometimes continuity is undervalued in the NBA. Because even if you look at us and what we talk about, half the time we just talk about trades, you know. But sometimes keeping a team together for some time makes a big difference. And you know, they didn't trade Klay Thompson for Kevin Love, and maybe that was probably a good move on their part. That's what it looks like right now, right? So, as far as the West, I think Golden State's my big surprise team.
Yeah, I actually had Golden State as well.
Really?
Yeah, just echoing what you said. You know, they actually had like a slow start for Iguodala. He hasn't really played well, and David Lee is always out with injury. But guys like Draymond Green, who is actually my surprise player of the West. Coming out of college, Michigan State. He's a really good college player and everything, but he was kind of like what position is he? He's like, he might be too slow, or he's not really fundamentally sound, and that's what people were saying about him. And that's why he got drafted, I think he was 35th overall back in 2012. But this year, Steve Kerr has really done a great job with, expanding his role. And he's kind of almost, I think Kerr talked about this, and he said for Draymond Green to kind of watch what, Boris actually does for the Spurs, our boy Boris.
Boris and his man parts.
Yeah, and Draymond's getting there with that too. He's a big guy.
His position is a stretch mark 4. Like they say on Grantland, he's a stretch mark 4, just like Boris. But sorry, continue.
But yeah, just going back to I guess Draymond. I mean, he's he's shooting 45% from the floor, and he's also hitting those threes at a decent mark too. He's also grabbing the rebounds. He's averaging 7.7 rebounds a game, and then he's also dishing out 3 assists, and then scoring at a pretty good rate, 13 points a game. So, if it wasn't for Jimmy Butler, I would put him at the top of most improved player so far as well. So yeah, Golden State has been a real surprise, and someone like Mari Spates as well, former Cavalier.
Yeah, oh my God.
He's actually been a monster.
Why did we get rid of him
off the bench? Yeah. So that's my take on the West.
Yeah.
After you.
Yeah, sticking with the Golden State theme, I didn't pick them as my surprise team, but and I know this might be a weird choice for a surprise player, but for me, I picked Klay Thompson, just because he's everyone knows who the Splash Brothers. They know who he is. He's been a solid player for them since he joined the team. But this year, he's averaging about 22 points per game on 48% shooting, which for a guy that is a pick and pop guy, that's mainly a pick and pop guy. Yes, he has other aspects to his game, but that's pretty ridiculous. And he's shooting 42% from 3, 87% from the line. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
That's when you have those two guys on the same team, it's pretty unstoppable, as we've seen thus far. But my surprise team, I actually picked Portland. They're off to a hot start, just like last year, and then hopefully for their sake they don't tail off like they did. But that team, they're 15-2 at home. They get the job done at home, and I really didn't think that, based on last year, I just didn't think that they were going to be able to, play this well, and they're 24-7. They don't have a whole lot of depth. Obviously, they have Lillard and Aldridge, who are 2 maybe top 15 players.
Yeah, and you forget that. It's funny. You forget Portland has 2 top 15 players. That seems silly to say. But
yeah. So that's just, that's surprising. I mean, Nicholas Batum's pretty solid. So is Wes Matthews. the crazier-haired Lopez.
Robin.
He's serviceable, but he's just kind of your energy guy. He's not gonna do a whole lot for you.
Yeah.
But I just just looking at their team on paper, I wonder how they're. And it's such a tough conference. I wonder how they're doing so well. But that would definitely be my surprise team of the West.
Yeah. Okay, so that was all pretty positive stuff, right? So we got some negative stuff, especially in the East. So if we start with the East, what do you guys think team-wise are you most surprised with?
Well, for me, this is most definitely the Knicks. For anyone that saw our predictions for the playoffs, I unfortunately penciled them in at the 8th seed, thinking that things couldn't get any worse than last year. And, well, here we are.
They found a way, yeah.
They're 5-30 with who most people would think is, a top 15 player. Granted, they don't have a whole lot outside of that. But, I mean, that's...
But a top 10 or 15 player in the East should get you, 10 wins by now.
Yeah. I mean, especially, he's going to score, and he's maybe not the most efficient guy, but he's certainly not Kobe this year. And I don't understand. This just seems ridiculous. I mean, that team, it had so much promise, and then, the Amari Stoudemire thing obviously hasn't panned out how they thought it would. I thought adding Calderon would help a lot, and he's been, with having injury trouble. Tim Hardaway, he had a pretty good last season, and he's not doing as well as he was.
Yeah.
There's just not a whole lot to look forward to for that team. And I think I just saw today that Carmelo might be done for the season. So if that's the case,
I guess that's part of this record. We're no good, I'm just gonna sit kind of deal.
Yeah. They might not win a game the rest of the season.
But so I think
they're pretty bad.
Yeah, they are really bad. But it's funny because I would also say that in the East, the Knicks have been the biggest letdown. And when you were talking, you threw out all these players' names that most people know, right? But if you look at the Sixers, who have the same record, I don't think I could name 3 guys. I can name 3 or 4 guys. There's no one on the Sixers that you can even recognize. Half those guys weren't even drafted. More than half of them weren't drafted. So it's incredibly bad over there in New York.
Yeah.
I think Brooklyn could have been kind of one of those negative letdowns too, but after they inserted Sergei Karasev into the lineup, they've been tearing it up. I'm serious. It's crazy. So that's why I'm going with the Knicks as well. J-Rod, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, certainly, the Knicks are terrible and everything, but I'll go with the Cavs opponent for tonight, the Charlotte Hornets, who are now 10-24 on the year, and going into this season with the acquisition of Lance Stevenson, you thought, Charlotte's making a move up, and they can fight into that top tier of the East, that 4 or 5 seed range. But it just has not gone well for them. Just going along with that, my biggest letdown player is actually Lance Stevenson. With Indiana, he was a really solid 2-way player, and now in this Charlotte system, he just looks lost. Almost so lost that people like Zach Lowe have floated around the idea of trade rumors already. Him moving back to Indiana or something, so he just was not a good fit for this team. And his shot selection and playing style just kind of reflects that. You look at his stats, and he's shooting 15% from 3 and 35% on pull-up jump shots, which is actually half of his shot attempts right now. So that is just a mess. And then just going along with the Hornets more, I guess, they've really only gotten quality play from their 2 better players, I guess, Kemba Walker and Al Jefferson this year. And, they lost Josh McRoberts, and that kind of really hurt their, spacing of the team, because he can knock down those threes and everything. And then to replace him, they signed Marvin Williams, who is just terrible. And and they've strung together, losing streaks. They had a 9-game losing streak earlier in the year, and then they've strung together four-game losing streaks twice now. So yeah, they're just not looking like a great team right now, and that that was kind of a surprise because most of us probably had them 7-4 range in the East finishing. So yeah, that's my take on the East.
The East is just so bad. Like if we formed a pickup basketball team between the 5 of us, which teams do you think we could beat in the East?
Well, for me, this depends. When you mentioned Philadelphia and you said you couldn't name any players, you forgot 3 pretty notable ones: Kim, Chloe, and Courtney.
Kourtney Kardashian. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So if they're playing for Philly, we don't have a chance. But if they're not going to play that game, if they have a photo shoot or something, we could definitely take them. And we could definitely take the Knicks too.
That's
possibly
true.
The Hornets if Al Jefferson's out and
if
Lance
Al Jefferson's out,
well, actually,
Lance is
I'd
playing.
rather have Lance.
Yeah.
I think we'd probably be sitting at 12-30 right about, or 12-20 right about now.
Yeah. Our tallest player is what, about 5'11"?
Yeah. Well, that's fine. We got a lot of heart.
Yeah. And we just run a zone anyways.
Yeah.
All right.
I guess,
after you
touched on it. Since you touched
You're
on
up,
it a little earlier, with the Nets, my disappointing player is Darren Williams. This kind of stems back from, when the whole super team joined with KG and Pierce and then, Joe Johnson, and they already had Lopez and Williams. I don't understand. He was so solid in Utah, and I know he has had injury problems, but this year was supposed to be the year that, he was fully healthy, ready to go. In his last 10 games, he's been shooting 30%, averaging 9 points per game, playing only just over 20 minutes a game, and
oh god,
it's just been. That team.
He's coming off the bench now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Lopez, I think. Yeah. Jeez.
You can't pay somebody that much money and have them produce at the clip that he's producing. It just that whole. Prokhorov doesn't care because he's probably just going to sell him. It's probably just an investment he's making. But that team is just nobody wants to inherit that mess. They don't have any picks, and they don't really have any talent, young talent.
Yeah.
So that whole thing's a mess, and it kind of stems from not being able to have any solid point guard play, which is that's a pretty integral part of team success. So
it doesn't help that Darren Williams comes back 10 pounds fatter than the last year either.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're pretty solid on our disappointment. It's getting depressing. So how about we move on to talk about some good players? I think the last time we talked, the first round of All-Star balloting came out, right?
Yep.
And there's been a second wave, I guess, that's been released. And looking at that, what's your guys' take on the starters for each league? Anything you want to say about that, or pretty happy with it?
Johnny, go ahead.
Yeah. So me and Rahul talked last week, I guess, in the last podcast about this list, the first release, and doesn't seem like there's too many changes. A few changes here or there. I guess Pau Gasol, I guess he moved ahead of Carmelo actually for the second spot in the East, which I agree with. And then actually
a day ago.
Yeah. So he's playing very well. And then I guess in the West, the backcourt there, it moved a little too as well. I guess Damian Lillard, he moved from the 8th spot actually up to 5th. So I guess that's a reflection of the tear he's been on lately and all the clutch shots he's been hitting for Portland.
Yeah. Looking at this, I don't have too many complaints. Like, I think the fans is all right. Like, if you look at the starters for the East, right now it would be John Wall, Dwayne Wade, LeBron, Pau Gasol, and Carmelo Anthony. I think Dwayne Wade's probably the only one that doesn't deserve to be starting, but he's just got that legacy or whatever. So I can understand that. I think if we were going to do this, more fairly, Jimmy Butler should be starting at the 2 instead of Dwayne Wade. But that's something that doesn't change overnight. Dwayne Wade's going to be that name that people recognize. And then literally the same story in the West. You got Steph Curry, Kobe Bryant, Anthony Davis, Blake Griffin, and Marc Gasol starting. Again, their 2 guard, Kobe Bryant, is the big name, or is a big name. But there's no way he deserves to be starting in front of James Harden. But that's just the way it goes, I guess. I don't know. But other than that, I'd say it's a pretty decent job voting by the fans. So, Kurt, anything to add?
Yeah, I'm just looking at this list, and it's just, if you look at the top 15 in the front court from the East versus the West, it's sad. Like the somehow Nick Young got in the top 15 for the West. Which I'm not sure how that happened, but
it's the Iggy Azalea fans too.
I guess so. But like, Serge Ibaka's not in the top 15 for the Western Conference. And
how is Nick Young in the front court?
I don't know how that. I don't know.
Do you consider I guess you consider a small forward, or like?
I guess
I would think you'd be with the guards or something, but I don't know.
But if you look at that versus the East, where there are if you ask the average basketball fan, they don't know who Jonas Valanciunas is. They don't know who Nikola Vucevic is. They probably don't know who Nikola Mirotic is. I mean, there are a bunch of not high-level, well-known names in the West, aside from Nick Young again, but everyone knows Nick Young. It's just a testament to how different these conferences are right now in their depth, and it might even be more noticeable for the guards. In the guards, Lou Williams is 8th, and he's great. He's having a great year, but the 8th spot for the West is Russell Westbrook. So it's just absolutely ridiculous how
I would put Jeff Teague. I would put Jeff Teague on that list too for the East. I was kind of surprised to see he wasn't anywhere on there.
He's somebody from that.
I mean, you got Millsap and Horford 13 and 14 in the front court, but Jeff Teague has been a part of that. But I would put him ahead of Lou Williams and the Greek Freak.
Yeah,
the Greek Freak.
But it's just
good old Kevin Garnett at number 9. God, he's not going to make it to the All-Star game. He's going to break down before then. There's no way. Well, it's crazy to think that in the West, someone like DeMarcus Cousins or Dwight Howard or Dirk Nowitzki might not make it to the All-Star game.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
you
could easily have someone So there's definitely disparity in talent. So I don't know. That's pretty much all I got to talk about. You guys want to add anything or anything else you want to talk about?
We have any posts coming up pretty soon to look forward to for all our viewers?
Well, I know we got the next round of NBA Jams coming up probably in the next few days here, so you can look forward to that. We've been talking about these trades and stuff, and I've personally kind of gotten tired of some of these same names that we've floated around. Like, I don't want to hear Sammy Dallenberg's name one more time. So I'm writing this post, and it's going to be a weekly thing, and it's going to be kind of some prospects for the Cavs on guys who can help us. But I promise that these are guys that you haven't that haven't been brought up before. So I'll leave it at that. J-Rod, anything else you can think of?
Yeah, I mean, recently we've released V has posted a power rankings on his site, so be sure to check that out. And then yeah, along with our first podcast, be sure to check that out as well. We posted that last week, and then yeah, as far as this one, we're hoping to have this up on the site in the next few days, probably tomorrow, hopefully. But yeah, I think that just about wraps it up here.
Okay.
It's good talking to you guys.
Talking.
Make sure you get some nuggies, Kurt, man. That's disappointing.
Well, luckily I have the whole weekend to take care of that. That is the only thing on my to-do list.
Attaboy. All right. Well, I guess I'll talk to you guys.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Yep. Bye.